All right, welcome to the Fight for Our Citizen podcast. I am your host, Uncle Fox Matone, and tonight I'm here with my friend Robert from LA. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing well, doing well. Thank you for having me on here.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've been trying to hook up this whole time and link up and get this episode recorded, but we never had a chance with all the traveling you've been doing and all the ceremonies that have been coming up. So I'm glad we
Right.
finally got a chance to sit down and actually talk.
Yeah, everything seems to came out just right this time. Like I wasn't really doing anything this weekend, and it was just like ended up perfect for me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, great, great. So I wanted to talk about just go ahead and introduce yourself and what do you do?
sure, I'll introduce myself a little bit traditional at first.
Yes.
So Dagote, Robert Orozco Gonce, she is Anastasia Alonso Gonce, she Bendavahe said Shli, Los Angeles Gonsti, Apache Stronghold, Bishna Isid. How are you? My name is Robert Orozco. My great grandmother was her name was Anastasia Alonso. We're from we're Bendaje or Chiricahua.
Hmm.
Right now, I currently live in Los Angeles, and I do work with the Apache Stronghold.
Oh, great.
Um, so a lot of things like how I met you. We might want to go to that, but I probably want to start by telling you my story.
Okay.
The story is a
Sure.
pretty amazing one. Um, as you know, I am a type 2 diabetic.
Okay.
Um, about 7 years ago, I went into the hospital thinking that I had the flu.
Hmm.
And whenever we were growing up, my grandmother and everybody always said, hey, juice up, do all these things to try to, when you have the flu and you'll feel better, eat a lot of oranges, drink a lot of
Yeah.
orange juice. I went to the hospital because I thought I had a high fever because I was losing consciousness. Let me back up a little bit. In my house, we quarantine. So when we're sick, we quarantine. So I went in the room, and my wife went out into the living room and slept on the couch where we lived at that point.
Hmm.
So I went into the room and I laid down. I laid down. I actually heard a voice tell me, "Get up, or you're not going to get up." And back then, I had a lot of, I never wanted to go to the hospital. Didn't like seeing the doctors or anything like that. So it was kind of weird for me to immediately get up and tell my wife, "Hey, take me to the hospital." She didn't ask or anything like that. She just went and took me.
Yeah.
So when I went to the hospital, I was coming in and out of consciousness at this point. So I went to the hospital. They admitted me right away, and I was, I thought it was just high fever.
Hmm.
Next day I came to, and then my wife was sitting next to me while I was in the bed, and I asked my wife, "Hey, did I hear the doctor right?" And she goes, "Hey, what did you hear?" And I said, "The doctor said if I didn't come in, I probably wouldn't be here." She goes, "Yeah, your body was shutting down.
Oh, wow.
Everything was all my organs were all shutting down." And so I walked out of the hospital after a week stay, finding out I was one diabetic, number
Jeez.
two had high blood pressure and high cholesterol.
Hmm.
So the three main things that plague our people.
Yeah.
And when I was released, they didn't know if I was type 1 or type 2 at that point because the way my body was reacting. So I came out taking injections. I had 4 insulin injections per day plus medication for high blood pressure and high cholesterol.
And this is all of a sudden, huh?
Well, the doctor said, I never want to believe the doctors, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're pre-diabetic,
Yeah.
watch exercising a whole bit, but
Hmm.
you never want to do that, right? Like,
Right. Right.
just, I don't know if it's the male ego or what. We don't want to listen, right? We just say,
No.
hey, well, I want to have my pizza, I want to have my cake and eat it too,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
And I drank heavily back then too, so I went alcohol a whole bit. So
Hmm.
I'm always thinking, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll
Yeah.
do it tomorrow. Um, so let me fast forward from there. So 2 years later, my doctor took me off all medication.
Wow.
So, and the reason being is twofold. I changed my diet dramatically over the 2 year span
Hmm.
and added exercise. Things like I exercise regularly. Used to run, used to go to other, lift weights, do the whole, but nothing really dramatic, just to kind of keep a little in shape. But, this whole thing uh, kind of put me on the right track to be saying, hey, you know what? I need to do something if I want to be here longer.
Yeah.
You know
Saves your
that.
life. Yeah.
Well, I and I attribute because when I talk to the people, I talk to the like when I go to the ceremonies, and I talk to a lot of people over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell them, the reason I am living and I live today is because the food from Nagsan, the Mother Earth, killed me. Because
Mm-hmm.
all my foods right now are really natural. I don't eat anything. I did a process of elimination because I used to take my blood thing, my blood measurement. Once when I woke up, once before the meal, 2 hours after the meal for everything. So I'm taking it like 10 times a day,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what I can and can't eat and figure out what I need to do. And I wanted my sugar levels to reach where I was normal, like how everybody is, like under 100 when you wake up and never over 110.
Yeah.
Like that's how I wanted my body to be. And so all my diets and my foods, which you've tried, are geared towards that.
Okay.
So that, and my belief was this, because you've tried my foods,
Yeah.
is that it has to taste good. Because even when I was back then, before when I used to eat everything and everything, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the way that either diet foods or vegan foods or vegetarian foods, I didn't like the way they taste.
Yeah.
It didn't taste real, right?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for food for me is how do I eat something? Because I had cravings just like everybody else. I wanted a burger, I wanted a pizza, I
Yeah.
wanted everything that I couldn't have cake. I wanted all these different things. And whenever I went through this process, I figured out, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that, and it was a little frustrating. So I had to figure out how to make it myself,
Yeah.
which you tried, right? Like so,
Right.
I know sometimes it seems a little bit weird. You try my tamales. My tamales are
Right.
non-corn based in a whole bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard for me to kind of tell people this, like, hey, you need to change your diet, because even I'm reflective on me back then. I didn't change mine either. Even
Yeah.
when the doctor said, hey, you're teetering on these things and the whole bit, I was like, whatever, I'll do it later. I'm okay. I wake
Yeah.
up fine. I can eat whatever, and I feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just then, it wasn't that, which is crazy. And going through some of the hearing that voice,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't scary, but I hear that voice often
Yeah.
telling me the same thing over. And it's especially now that I came back to with our people,
Yeah.
with the ceremonies and stuff like that. It's even stronger. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's I was never like that before. Before my previous life, people would
Yeah.
say, "Oh, that guy likes to party too much. He likes to,
Yeah.
eat a bunch of pizza. I can sit there and eat a big old pizza from Domino's, no problem."
Yeah. Well, it
So
looks like like I've eaten your food too, and it looks like it's a regular dish, but it's not. It's substituted with other things, and
right,
yet, like you said, if like for me, if you didn't tell me like what it really is, I would eat because it tastes good, and I think just the name of it, like I'm kind of like my father because my father would like drink Coke and then you say, "Oh, it's diet," and he'd be, "Oh, that's nasty." You know what I mean?
right,
So
right,
I
right.
think that I have that mentality too sometimes, and then like with the tamales, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely tastes good.
Yeah, that's that whole psychological thing that we
Yeah.
have going on. I have it too. And my wife just recently went on diet. She lost 40 pounds in the last 60 days,
Oh
believe it or
wow.
not. And
Hmm.
she kind of went to a diet similar to mine, where she eliminated a lot of the grains and the flours and stuff, and
Yeah.
sugar and grains a lot.
Hmm.
And she used to have this, like, a lot of migraines before.
Yeah.
She used to have like she has a like plantar fasciitis. It's like an inflammation in your foot tendon.
Yes.
She hasn't had that since she started the diet,
Wow.
and it's just amazing. And I always tell people, food is your medicine,
Yeah.
especially if it's non-processed. It's from the earth, right? It's from
Hmm.
Mount Sinai. It's given to us by the Creator, and
Yeah.
we need to embrace that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much. Like I talk to your uncle Lister. I was like, yeah, we have that colonized stomach
Yeah.
that
Right.
we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I don't know, everywhere I go, because I travel to other people, and everybody has that colonized stomach. I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't
Hmm.
know how we as a people can get rid of it for ourselves, because we're kind of, when you look at like donkey bread and ash bread,
Yeah.
like, wow, that's, they told me how the donkey bread came. I'm like, oh, that's just colonized bread right there.
Yeah.
Colonized
Right.
brought it to us. The army brought it to our people.
Hmm.
Wow. Like, but we think it's traditional, and it's not.
Yeah, and then like especially when I was growing up on the reservation, we had I remember standing in line for commodity food, and that was
Right.
like oil and just a lot of food, like that
right,
commodity cheese that everybody loved. I mean, that's kind of like we thought like was traditional food as we got older, because that's what we always had was
right.
commodity food, and flour and things like that. But again, that was another way to try to eliminate the natives by giving us these kind of food that
Right.
we depend on.
Yeah, that's hard to. It's hard to change. I see that
Yeah,
when because I bring my foods over believe it or not, I bring it to some of the ceremonies. I didn't
yeah,
know this, and then Vanessa was telling Vanessa and your uncle was saying, "Hey, Robert, nobody's ever brought foods outside of the camps
yeah,
to do the whole thing." And I was like, "What?" I had no idea, right?
yeah,
And so I was like, "Oh, that's." I was kind of shocked and taken back, and
yeah,
I felt really embraced by not by our people,
yeah.
which was being displaced.
Hmm.
My family was from the Sonora region,
Yeah,
and we fled. We didn't go on the reservation, so we kind of hid amongst the
yeah,
Mexicans and stuff like that. And then my great grandmother migrated to L.A. and then ended up in Tulare, California, for all places, right?
right.
So and so when I'm thinking about my aunts and the people the Chiricahua people that came, like my aunts and my grandma, they used to work out the fields out there in Tulare,
Yeah,
and I was like, and they were involved in the movement
yeah,
with the farmers. Like, wow, so that's an untold story that Chiricahua people were actually the Apache people were in the movement as well at the forefront,
yeah.
and it wasn't
Definitely.
just the Mexicans or the Filipinos; it was also us, right?
Hmm.
So, but I kind of digress. But I kind of want to talk about more about food because I think that is an important thing for us
Yes.
as a people.
Hmm.
Um, is how do we get away from it?
Yeah,
How do we get away from the sugars? How do we get away from just certain things? Because if we're already diabetic, we can't we have to cut those off. We can't
yeah,
go back.
right.
But that's the hardest thing because when you go to the ceremonies and you go to some of the dances, I was looking out there and like, wow, all the sodas and all the candies that's out
Hmm.
there that you
Right.
just run out there and grab, and I'm like, wow, that's like running to diabetes.
Yeah,
And
right.
I don't know how to address that. It might not be my place,
Yes.
but it's interesting to see, but it's also interesting to see the want for people to change.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, like I went to like I went to a thing where for your uncle,
Yeah.
and there was a table of pastries, and then he
Hmm.
was telling me when I was in New York, and then he goes, "Yeah, Robert, this was the first time they had a bunch of pastries and they had to push them away."
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, that's because you were there.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Nobody wanted to eat bad in front of you. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I'm like, I don't mean to come off that way, but
Yeah.
everybody starts apologizing to me and say, hey, Robert, sorry for eating this in front of you. I just start laughing.
Yeah, that's what when you guys were on that trip, and I saw you guys on Facebook, and my uncle came back. I was like, "Oh, you took Robert?" Like, because like, they'll eat good, with you around, and that's what you bring off. Because I know one time, we were at a ceremony with you, and we went to go eat, and man, I grabbed like shoot spaghetti and fry bread, and I was like just happy, I had all my stuff, and I had a big plate, and I had like a big smile on my face, and I was walking by and I saw you, and I was like, oh shoot, like like I was like, oh, where should I put this plate? This is not
It's
my
like
plate,
you want to hide it
yeah,
under the thing, right under your shirt or whatever.
yeah,
So I think it's funny, but I really appreciate that, but I'm
yeah,
not there to like scold anybody or anything
yeah,
else. But it's good to see that energy that I'm putting
yeah.
off being into good use and making people think, hey, you know what? Maybe we do need it better as a people,
And
right?
I think because like in ceremony, especially down there in St. Carlos, you hire, you get a cook to
Right,
do the dance, right? But
right,
for you, because you're bringing like the food that you bring, like medicine food, and that's why they don't say anything to you. If you were like came in and made cheeseburgers and hot dogs and pizza, next to the cook, they would be upset.
right,
But since
right.
you're doing, like food, medicine, they don't. Yeah, you're welcome. Of course.
But I also make a pizza and I do make a hamburger,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's not. You don't even know like what the heck is this? Like everybody gets fooled by it because
yeah.
it's
Well,
not the same thing, right?
yeah. I mean, they always say, oh, hey, Robert's cooking over there. Oh yeah, I'll go try his food. Because they know what you're doing over there. So they
Yeah, it was interesting that when they were telling me because they set up an area for me
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, Robert, just stand up over here and the whole bit and being embraced by the cooks. And so they, hey, Robert, you're one of us. And I was like, oh, wow, it was, feeling the
Mm-hmm.
acceptance and the love and the want from the people
Yeah.
was really inspiring for me. That's
Yeah.
why, I just want to give back to people. Everybody's like, I remember somebody was like, hey, Robert, hey, let me chip in for you. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
It really feels like this is me. Like, this is why the voice told me to
Yeah.
be there. Like, right. This is really what I'm thinking is that this is my purpose to give back to the people.
Yeah.
And that was like everybody else. Like before I went back to the reservations and met with other people, like it's been like 3 or 4 years and everybody had like died and had the whole bit
Mm-hmm.
and cured. But then um, it was interesting when I met your uncle because I like going to Chiricahua is I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually ended up there
Mm-hmm.
by accident. Like
Yeah.
I had a dream, and then I was like, "Oh, let me go over here." I was kind of like on this quest, and I went with one of our Apache brothers, and him and I had no idea about it. And so, I actually went to Oak Flat and parked right before I said, "Oh, I need to be there for sunrise," and then I was going to do a prayer, and then coyotes like the power, they were out there. And so
Mm-hmm.
right by my truck. And so I was like, oh, because it's still dark. I'm like, oh, let's wait.
Yeah.
And the sun came up and they were gone. Didn't hear them anymore. Well, as soon as the sun came up, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I remember I'm like, oh, I need to go get something on my phone. I need to remember where something was.
Yeah.
And then we walk up and then we see the holy ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we had no idea. We started crying because
Yeah.
we had no idea that was there. And then next thing you know, I go again and I meet your Uncle Whistler and that was just very surreal because
Yeah.
he's Bendakahe as well,
Yes.
and it's not just Apache, so you got Bendakahe within the Chiricahua as well. So like,
Yeah.
wow, that's to be meeting another one of the same clan from the Chiricahua is
Yeah.
what's the chance of that?
Mm-hmm.
I've never met another Bendakahe outside of somebody like at a powwow or somebody saying that they were there.
Yeah.
So, and so,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like that. I'm always looking at, wow,
And what
this
year
is
was
so
that?
surreal.
What year was that? I can't remember.
Um, it was when I first met your uncle. I for the first time,
Yeah.
maybe 2 years ago,
Maybe
3
maybe
years
three,
ago.
huh? Maybe it
Yeah,
was
about
three.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah, time's going by quick, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of going by really quick, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm losing track of a lot of my time.
Mm-hmm.
Because just traveling and going here and going there. Even when I was with your uncle out in New York, the time went by so quick. I was like,
Yeah.
where did time go?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
The same thing. Like I have to remember when I was actually diagnosed. I had to look it up before this meeting. I'm like, oh, that was 2015, like 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Especially when you're diabetic like that. And then you get some other sickness, like so when you get some other sickness, like say cancer, and
right,
and you're fighting that, and you're also diabetic. I mean, those are the
right,
things that our people face a lot, and so
yeah,
it's good to check on your sugar, your blood level, your cholesterol level, because again, we're eating foods that's not for us. We're eating
right.
government food.
Government food. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the colonized stomach takes over
Yeah,
for us. Like
yeah.
I had my wisdom teeth pulled a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I had to write on the thing that I was diabetic and I had high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor said, "Oh, what medication?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm not on medication." And then he looked at me and goes, What do you mean?" I said, I'm not on any medication." He goes, "Well, diabetic's supposed to do this." And he didn't believe me. But my doctor took me off of all my medication.
Yeah,
He didn't believe me. So he took all my blood and did put everything on there to monitor me. And he goes, "You sure you were diabetic?" Because my sugar level was like 80, 85.
yeah.
I started
Wow.
laughing. And then my high blood pressure, he goes, "You don't have high blood pressure at all. You sure?" And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what people think, that once you're diagnosed, you have to stick with those things.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think but it's hard, right? It's a hard term.
I think a lot of people think when they're diabetic, they could still eat the same. They just got to take the medication. And I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's where that comes from, because I know a lot. I mean, a lot of relatives that I know were just okay. Well, I eat the same, but I'll make sure I take my insulin and my medication.
yeah,
So
that's crazy, right?
doesn't
It's crazy
change
to
anything.
think, like, because if something happened in the world and you couldn't get that medication, then you're gonna die,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna pass away. and
Hmm.
to rely on the medication to sustain life, when actually all you have to rely on is Mother Earth, not the sun, to sustain your life. It's like a paradigm shift that our people need to do. I
Hmm.
just don't know how to help it. I hear it. I listen to the people on your previous podcast as well. They kind of
Yeah.
have the same dilemma, but how do you how do you present it, right?
Hmm.
I don't even know, because we still, everybody's tried my foods, but everybody still goes back, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you prevent that? How do you prevent that from going back? And maybe that's the $1 billion question. How do you prevent that going back?
I think
And
for me, like your food is good, but I don't think I could. I mean, unless I'm not trying, I don't find it anywhere else. So,
right,
if I go somewhere and there's the food that I'm used to, I'll eat it. But if like you were there, and there's I'll eat your food. But I think maybe it's just being lazy of not trying to learn how to cook it myself, or and and not being lazy of finding how much sugar this is in, how much that has sugar, and especially like fried bread and tortillas. I know that has a lot of things in it. So,
right,
but again, that's what everybody is. When they go back home, that's what they want to get. They want to get a fried bread and tortilla, and things like that.
right. Yeah, that's hard. Like,
Yeah,
when I was with that uncle out there, I felt kind of bad because sometimes he watched what
yeah,
he was eating, and I could see that he wanted to get certain things, and
yeah,
I was like, I don't want to say anything because it's not
yeah,
my place. But it's I'm always observing, and maybe that's what people are seeing, because I'm always observing how people are picking things. Like,
yeah.
what is your go-to food? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like curious. I'm like, I look at them, and I think that they're saying, oh, Robert's staring at me. I'm like, no, I'm just curious what everybody's habits are,
Yeah.
right? It's nothing about that, because I think they see me standing back and looking at what everybody's picking up.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what I mean, and we know what's bad and what's good because I
Right,
know, like when I used to, I had a trainer back in the day. He would say, "Okay, what'd you eat yesterday?" And I'd be like, because I know what I ate, it wasn't good. So, like, we know what's bad and what's good. We just, whatever tastes good, we just eat it. And so, especially like, I bet you were surprised, like you said, at the ceremony when you see the food that we have there. And that all, like again, that all comes from commodity food, and growing up and things like
right.
that. But um, yeah, I bet you were surprised when you seen that. Like you said, like the sodas and and things like that we have there. And
Yeah.
so, but I mean, the food's good, but I know health wise is not good. And so, but when you're there, yeah, we eat good.
It's like when I went to the first sunrise dance, right?
Hmm.
When I went with your uncle, I didn't know. I just was bringing my food. I didn't know protocol, right? Because
Yeah,
my family was very displaced, and we kind of didn't
yeah,
want to show ourselves, other than other certain mannerisms of what not to say, what not to do, what not
yeah,
to do. Don't do these things. I knew some of that, but not, weren't exposed to these ceremonies, so I didn't know what to expect. But I knew I couldn't eat. I know I couldn't eat regular food, so I had to bring
yeah.
my own. So I brought this whole setup, not knowing.
Hmm.
Like, I had my whole truck full
Yeah,
of all. You see my truck,
yeah. I
so
see.
I always have packed full of stuff, and I had no idea. I'm like, okay, am I going to be able to cook? Am I not going to be able to cook? And it was actually, I was very pleasantly shocked that it was embraced. And they said, no, set up over here, do this and do that.
Yeah.
And it just grew from there.
Hmm.
And I don't know how to express my appreciation to all the people for accepting me
Yeah.
like that. It was, but I know it's also hard, right? Because
Right.
I see people over there, like, gradually my lines for my food actually go bigger and bigger each time I go.
Yeah.
And look, I'm like, then I have to think, okay, how much do I have to bring in a whole
Yeah.
bit? Because I think that the last time at Oak Flat, I ran out of things. I ran out of the stir fry, because the stir fry was everyone's favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. The stir fry. That was really good. And
Right.
then the beef stew that you made, I
Oh
think.
yeah, the beef stew.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
looks like beef stew, but yeah,
Yeah, so like for your audience, what I am is a paleo vegetarian.
yeah,
And so what that is I took out all of the grains and the wheat and sugar, soy,
yeah.
beans. I took a lot of inflammatory stuff.
Hmm.
And they say, why are you, paleo is usually meat? I'm like, no, this and that. They go, why don't you eat meat? I'm like, because I learned something about meat,
Yeah,
and that the key to diabetes is eat more vegetables, right? Even the doctors will tell you, everybody tells you, you could go online, everybody says eat vegetables.
yeah,
But my character was this: if I had meat in front of me, I'm gonna go get that meat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pick it up, like even leftovers. Right? I'm gonna go, hey, those ribs are good. I'm gonna start eating the ribs instead of picking up a vegetable or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. And so I had to make that decision because I didn't have the strength. Everybody says, "Oh, you're pretty strong." I'm like, no, if I was pretty strong, I could still eat meat,
Yeah.
but I can't. I had to make that decision to stop eating meat, so I eat more vegetables.
Right. And what? Give us the recipe of the stir fry. That's I like you're right. That's everybody's favorite when you come. Like, oh, is he gonna make the stir fry? Today or
So it comes from an amalgam of different things that I find. Like like Vanessa, your cousin Vanessa, she doesn't
Mm,
like mushrooms, right?
right.
And she, Robert, you're always tricking me because I'm always bringing a mushroom dish. And
Yeah.
she said she seldom she hates mushrooms, and so the meat that I actually prepare, because I usually prepare it it is made from what's called a king mushroom, so it's a little bit more dense than a regular mushroom, and comes into like a little
Yeah.
tubeish form, and then you slice it like almost like chicken nugget size.
Right.
But the rice is the other thing, right? So it kind of tricks you because I use a mixture of cauliflower rice, which I really don't like. I don't like cauliflower rice. I don't like the taste and the texture. And
Yeah.
what I found is the secret. I'm gonna tell it to you, and your listeners are gonna know my secret now because
Yeah.
I usually don't. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you. And it's a heart of palm rice. So
Okay.
I mix it in there, so it's not a grain. So heart of palm rice, and I can't find it anywhere. I had to buy it online from Amazon, and so I mixed it in there, and it tricked my brain to think it was rice. Because
Yeah.
cauliflower rice, I could tell. I could
Mm-hmm.
tell by the taste and texture. Because I tried my stir fry with cauliflower rice by itself,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't. It didn't. It doesn't. So then I mixed it with heart of palm
Yeah.
rice heart of palm, and it's just the center of a palm tree, and
Mm-hmm.
the rice they make it into rice bits, and I mix it in there, and I use a coconut amino, so I don't use soy
Okay.
sauce, and so it looks just like a stir fry.
Yeah, it does. It looks just like it. I mean, I thought it was meat, and everything in there, and
Right, right,
yeah, it was good. And then also
right.
because I remember the first time I met you was at Oak Flat, and you had tamales, I think, that night.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I had your tamale. I was like, oh, this is good. And then they're like, oh, yeah. Someone said, I don't know if you said it, but someone said, oh, yeah, those are diabetic tamales. And I was like, what? Like, so again, like it's all mentality because,
Right,
it's really good. And also when someone said it was
right,
diabetic, I was like, wait a second,
right,
what is this? But if
right.
someone didn't say that, I probably would have ate like three more, but
Everybody's always asking me too, and
yeah,
like even at my grandmother's like, "Are you gonna bring the tamales?" I'm like, "No, I can only bring those at because it takes me 5 hours because I make it from scratch. It takes me
yeah.
5 hours to make a batch, and I usually don't. I'm not going to disclose the recipe for that one because everyone's like, "Oh, you
Yeah,
should
of
sell it."
course.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ah, I don't want to." But it's all fruits, nuts, and veggies. So
Okay.
there's no grains. There's
Yeah.
no grains or there's no masa. Like how you make a traditional
Yeah.
tamale out of the corn and the whole. But there's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's surprised because that texture is
Mm-hmm.
just right. It's actually more moist than because you can get a really dry tamale. I remember growing up and getting really dry tamales. Like, oh, this thing is too dry.
Yeah.
But my tamales are very moist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made them with meat before.
Yeah.
I could actually make it with meat as well. But since I don't eat meat and I'm trying to tell everybody eat more plants.
Mm-hmm.
I usually make it I make it out of a young jackfruit, the meat side, or I make a cheese. It's a cashew cheese. But the
Okay.
masa part, I'm not going to tell you. Sorry, I'm not going to disclose that.
Yeah, all your secrets. But
Yeah, that was a pretty good secret.
you stay away from a lot of dairy then too, right? Or do you?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I stay away from dairy. And the funny thing is before I was diagnosed as a diabetic, I thought I had what are they like where you're allergic to it? What do they call that? Like
Oh,
uh,
you had to be diagnosed with that, huh?
lactose intolerant,
Yeah.
right? I thought it was lactose intolerant. So if I ate something with dairy in it, like even a power bar that had like whey or dairy in it,
Yeah.
it would shoot through me, and I would have to make an emergency stop
Mm-hmm.
wherever, right? At a
Yeah.
gas station, I didn't care. I had to go. And then I even took lactose pills and that helped. And then as soon as I as soon as I rectify, I couldn't even eat eggs. Eggs would run through me too, all that whole bit. But
Yeah.
as soon as I changed my diet to what it is now, I could eat eggs. And I used to eat dairy when I was just a all Longfield
Yeah.
vegetarian. So I used to, after I got everything right, as soon as my diabetes came down to like under 120, then I was able to eat dairy.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. I had no idea
Wow.
that that was the reason for
Mm-hmm.
my body, anyways. And I don't know if that's true for everybody else, but for my body, the diabetes I had was, it, that I thought I was lactose intolerant. I thought I had all that stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then it's gone. It's just gone. I
Yeah.
don't have anything of that at all. So I could probably just drink milk, but I got rid of all the dairy and stuff like that just because it was part of me trying to be normal. Like I was at 120. My doctor took me off when I was under like 120, 115 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be under 100. I tell everybody, no, my diet is, I wanted to be my body to function normal.
Yeah.
So I had to eliminate a lot of that stuff.
Did you worry about your weight at the time, or you just was just trying to eat good? Or
I
when you
was
get.
actually 45 pounds, 40 or 45 pounds heavier than I am
Oh
right now.
wow. Yeah.
So like kind of like my wife. My wife shed that. I remember shedding it off within a short amount of time. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like, "Oh, you're skinny." Like I was actually, I think, 10 pounds lighter than right. Everybody, my relatives, like, "Hey, you're getting too skinny." I was like, so I
Yeah.
have to eat something. So I had to try to figure out, okay, how do I maintain not looking like really skinny and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, drop weight really quick. And once you start eating right, you drop weight really quick. What I found is that I always tell this, there's no such thing as a cheat day.
Yeah.
Once you cheat, you reset.
Right.
So if once your body starts going into this normal mode, like if I was to eat something bad,
Mm-hmm.
then my body's going to reset.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel it. I know because I do feel it. I can feel it when my glucose level goes above 110. I
Yeah.
can feel it. So I don't, I don't know how, like how to change people's diets. I asked my wife this. I asked her, hey, how did you change your diet? I said, you've been living with me for the last 7 years, and this is the first time. This like 2, 3 months ago, she changed her diet. She goes, they have to want to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
have to really want to do it on the inside of you in order
Mm-hmm.
for you to make that change. Because if you don't really want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And she said, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, even you tell them, hey, this is going to kill you later, the person inside has to say that because she was the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely got to be in your mind and then also change your way of eating because I know, if you do like some kind of diet pill or some magic diet you're doing, you lose 30 pounds in 30 days, you're just going to put that all back because you didn't get that from learning how to eat well. You just got it from. So I know those kind of diets, you just put it right back on,
Right.
so you have to change your way of thinking and change your way of eating to learn how to eat and lose that, and get your energy back and mentally also.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't like it's crazy how we don't really think of food being our fuel. We really don't. Our
Yeah.
society hasn't done that because we're we're socialized to think that like when you feel like you had a really good meal,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of sit back and it's a
Yeah.
really good meal. Like your
Take a
stomach,
nap.
and you kind of take a nap. You want to button the first button,
Yeah.
right? And so, but when you think about that, when you think about our people,
Yeah.
imagine back before we were forced on the reservations. Just imagine if we ate like that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here at
Yeah.
all.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to get up and run. You wouldn't be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how can that be good for you if
Yeah.
you can't do those things? And look, with my food, you could actually go do exercise. You could go actually not going to throw up.
Yeah. Um, it just it depends too. Like, have you seen the ceremonies? Like, even as for dancers, traditionally I'm a dancer. You got to make sure you eat good too, And so like the foods that we bring, and like for me, I'll say, okay, if I'm going to dance in 2 days, make sure I eat well, make sure I drink water. So I mean, we know that we need the good food, to dance and have the energy. Is just, we just got to put that to everyday life also.
Right.
So we have
Right.
to
So
maintain
yeah,
that.
exactly. But how do you do that, right? So
Yeah,
you kind of you gotta say, hey, I know I need to do right because I got to perform.
yeah,
I gotta, the ceremony is more than just a performance. It's
yeah,
prayer. It's this whole bit. It's
yeah.
this whole thing that you're doing for the creator. It's the whole thing that you're doing for the people.
Hmm.
But how do you turn that into you're doing it every day?
Yeah,
It's my always
right.
question. How do you do that? How does somebody do that? Like because that's what I'm doing, right? That's really what I'm trying to do. That's me every day.
Yeah,
Um, is I have to be because I really think that if I went back, that I wouldn't be here.
yeah,
Right? Truthfully, I think that I wouldn't be here with that whole thing because every time. every time I'm thinking about going back, like adding something back or adding fish or adding this whole bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, something around me happens, or somebody around me, something happens to them, and it
Mm-hmm.
reminds me, no, you have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And either I'm going to pay attention to that or I'm not going to pay attention to that. And I
Yeah.
think the day that I don't pay attention to that, I won't be able to come on your podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Right. And
right.
then is that how you so you're a chef, but were you that a chef before all this happened and that's how you started cooking, or you just started cooking from
No, like I'm a salesperson,
yeah.
right? I was telling people like, no, I'm a salesperson. I sell
To me
security
you're to
products.
me I'm like, "Oh, he's a chef." You know?
Like, no, because like I could talk about that, like about the
Yeah.
textures and this and that. I used to love food. Like you have to just be a food lover, right?
Right.
And so I know what food tastes like. I
Yeah.
eat everything, from burgers to pizza to all of our comfort foods.
Yeah.
And I went through. I had to figure out how to curb my my desires, my cravings. I
Mhm.
really did, because if I didn't, uh, like nothing like a good burger, nothing like a
Right.
good pizza, nothing like a good tomato, nothing like a good Indian taco. Like, oh gosh, like I want a big Indian taco. What if I want to have a big old Indian
Yeah.
taco with fried bread and everything? Like craving those things,
Mhm.
right? And how do you get rid of those cravings? So my whole process of learning to cook and cooking at right temperatures was self-taught. I didn't go to schools. I didn't
Okay.
do any of that. It was
Mhm.
all self-taught. I look at other people's recipes and I say, how can I make this better,
Yeah.
a healthier version, as well as tastier version? Because something like if you look at vegan and vegetarian recipes, sometimes I'm like, I wouldn't eat that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all of the taste, I guess. Yeah.
So I've been in the technology industry since the 90s.
Mhm.
And before that, I used to actually work with kids. And my bachelor's degree is in sociology.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like everybody's calling me the chef. Hey, Robert,
Yeah.
you're a cook. Where do you work at a restaurant? You have a room? Like,
Yeah.
no, like they even knew me, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know about this. And I think your uncle, he heard me speaking when I was at New York, and I had to speak to people in my company. And he goes, "Oh yeah, Robert, you are a business person. You're totally different on the phone than you are with us." So I
Yeah.
start laughing. I'm like, yeah, because I'm normally quiet and reserved,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you when I talk about you, I'm always yeah, he's a chef, you know, and I don't know what else you do on the outside, you know, or you do in L.A., but that's all I knew about you, and so you know, and that you lived in L.A. because I thought you were out here somewhere this whole time, you know, because I see you a lot, you know, but
Right,
the
right.
dedication, the dedication you have of coming back and forth, and you know that I was like, wow, he comes back all the time. That's what he's doing. So
Well, it's that voice. It's that voice that
yeah,
says, "Hey, you got to get up." And a lot of it, I think, it has to do with going back and being around our people, because it's very energizing for me.
hmm
It brings me back, because being out here in LA, even though I live in the mountain area,
yeah.
where the clouds, the yuccas will come and stuff like that where I live, and the rains will be here and the whole bit, but it's not the same. It's not the same as being around our people,
Yeah.
right? It's
Right.
that whole community energy, and I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it to some of our displaced brothers and sisters
hmm
of that feeling I get
Yeah.
being around people. I really don't, other than just you live
Yeah.
there. So, but I don't know. Being displaced and not being there is, I have no idea how to explain that to the people that really haven't experienced that at all.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like even with the foods, bringing it over there, and me pre-making stuff, because I know, like I put myself into the foods.
Yeah.
And I did this before, and I didn't, like, oh, you got to do this, and you got to, like, because I watch people when they're making the ash bread or the dark bread, and
Yeah.
they're trying to do good thoughts, and your that kind of spirituality goes into your food. And I've
hmm
been doing that all along. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, so I'm doing something right.
Right.
So
Yes.
it feels like, right. So because I'm like, usually I'm singing or I'm playing like Apache music while I'm cooking and the whole bit. And my wife says, "What do you turn that down over there?" I start laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's definitely good food.
yeah, like that's like, even then, like, so I could have this conversation with you right now, but even for you, my question would be is, how could I convince you to change your diet?
I think I know I need to change my diet, and I don't know if I need convincing. I think I just not to be lazy and do what you do. The way you prepare your meals. I mean, like I can't find a good healthy meal on DoorDash. Unless unless I get I really search for it. But other than that, I
Right.
feel like I have to actually do it myself. And
Right.
prepare my own food.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's missing in the United States. The
Mm.
United States has, if you look at all the statistics, not just with our people, but the United States wide, 1/3 of our population is diabetic. And that
Mm-hmm.
includes pre-diabetes, because I believe pre-diabetes is diabetic.
Yeah.
What the doctors, because it's just going to keep going up. You're going to keep doing the same behavior. Pre-diabetes is going to keep going up unless you change something.
Yeah.
But 1/3 of our population is diabetic. It's even like it's higher on the reservation. I think it's like
Yeah.
60 or something, 65%. And but nobody does anything about
Yeah.
it, right? You're just taking pills. Here's the pill, and this will help you. Like they don't even say no, change your this, change your this.
Yes. Right.
Um, and none of our restaurants cater to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
even going to a restaurant, I have to say, no, take this out, do this, do this. Very, very, very rarely do I see a restaurant where I could actually pick something off the menu. I think
Yeah.
I've only been to one or two out of every place in the United States where I could, and it's only one dish. The whole menu with all like 50 or something products, I can only pick one dish.
Yeah.
And I usually have to change something in there even then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can see that it's frustrating. That's why I think people are asking me, how do you open a restaurant? How do you open a chain of restaurants? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like that's my calling yet.
Yeah.
My calling is to be around the people and help this phase, anyways. That's what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But I that's a hard thing, like because you want to like you don't cook, right? Do you
Right.
cook or not cook?
I mean, I cook like I make some ramen noodles, and I could grill some burgers and hot dogs, and carne asada, but I not I don't make like I'm trying to learn how to make certain things, but yeah, I'm not a cook, per se, like
Right.
the way you are, and not breaking it down and everything like that either.
See, I'm
So,
not a cook either. So, but the thing about it is, this is why I'm always asking this
mm,
is how do you change your lifestyle
yeah,
to make food rather than getting a quick food?
yeah,
Because all that stuff is prepared. When you talk about ramen, when you're talking about carne asada, a lot of times, unless you prepare yourself, right?
yeah,
A lot of times you're going to the store and buying it. A lot of times you're going to even the tortillas you're buying it.
yeah.
You're, so we how do you think that your life would be, and what do you have to change in order to say, hey, I need to start making my own foods
Yeah.
rather than processed or anybody else prepared for me?
Hmm.
And nobody can answer me that question. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be pretty tough. I mean, especially like, as you know, you've gone with us to ceremonies and, to wakes and, and things like that. The food there is almost the same, they're
Right.
almost all the same, and
Yep.
so, having that there, I guess the mentality of me is thinking like, oh, this is traditional food, and so, I don't get this in the city, so I'm gonna eat it here, at the ceremony. So
Right.
maybe that's the mentality I have, I guess, when I go down there, that I don't get to have that kind of food, which is, is not, like I said, is more government food, because that all those recipes came from, commodity food that we used to have back in the day.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe I know I can change, especially when you come around. Like maybe I'll try to sneak a piece of cake while you're there, but
You didn't try my cake at the last time.
I didn't.
Did you? You did. I don't know if you did. I had made a chocolate. No, it was a chocolate strawberry cake.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
I did. I
Yeah.
think I did.
And I
Yeah.
think you did, right? So
Right.
everybody's like, it tastes like cake. I'm like, all my foods taste regular. I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
I
So
think if
like
you,
what?
like I said, if you didn't say what it was, I like,
Right.
yeah, they'll eat it, So, yeah, but it's good
Yeah, I
food.
know it's gone. Like even your Uncle Carlos, he thought I was kidding when I said, "Hey, I brought cake,"
Yeah.
and he came over later. Oh, Robert, I thought you were joking because why would you make cake? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it was a diabetic friendly cake for you to eat, right? So
Right.
it was non-grain and the whole bit. Sure, it's gonna be on the sweet side, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna affect you like eating cake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's just
so
the
they
sugar.
really
Yeah.
they didn't believe me because I don't use sugars, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll use a coconut palm sugar because it's slow digesting sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and so the slower digesting things is kind of the key to diabetes as well.
Yeah.
Because like anything juice like like juices and things with like sodas and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
they go right to your blood immediately.
Right.
You digest them the first thing that you digest. Even processed flours
Mm-hmm.
digest very quick as well. So if you eat a tortilla, it's going to go right to your blood immediately.
Right.
And that's that's scary for us
Mm-hmm.
for because tortillas are everybody eats them, right?
Right.
As far as
Right.
I know, everybody like I used to. I was growing up eating these things like like every. That was one of my father had to have tortillas in there every breakfast,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The corn tortillas every breakfast, and we were raised like this. My mom's like rice with everything, and the whole bit. Like, wow, that's and just looking at how we were raised, that becomes normal for us.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to cut that out, and go around some of my family that eats that stuff. Sometimes I feel bad because that the whole socialization of food is if you refuse something that your family has made,
Yeah.
and like say you go to your aunt's house or somebody's house and then you refuse, like they'll try to give you food and then you refuse it, you kind of get that
Mm-hmm. You're
you're looked at. It's
disrespectful.
bad, right?
Yeah.
Disrespectful the whole bit, and I
Yeah.
had to kind of override that,
Yeah.
and and but it was hard. It was very difficult. So maybe that's why it took me a couple of years to kind of go to the people,
Yeah.
come back to the Apache people,
Mm-hmm.
because I had to go through that with my family.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, man, they was like, even when I stopped drinking, they were trying to always give me something like, "Oh, Robert, just taste it. Try this and try this." And like, "No, no, Auntie, I'm trying to stop. I just
Yeah.
quit doing this because of my diabetes." "Oh, one taste is not gonna hurt you."
Mm-hmm.
And finally, my uncle said, "Hey, leave him alone and you see what he's trying to do." And they
Yeah.
stopped. But just that pressure, the family
Yeah.
pressure,
The family pressure. Yeah.
yeah, of doing that. Like even then, like even like in the ceremony, you have to take some of the bread, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why I had to take some. But I felt really like I felt bad. I was like, "Hey, they just give me a little piece, right?"
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
Because I can do those things, but I do know it's going to affect me, so I got to like offset. And like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to do it here, and I'm not going to add it to my thing because I need a whole like it's usually like a half, right? And I
Right.
said, no, give me this time. The person giving the rest start laughing because they know me, so they ripped it like a little piece and just gave it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I I I know that like I always thought like being diabetic like we didn't have the way we eat today is not what we have back in the day. Like um, I know in a pomo they would ask like our great great grandfather what a certain word meant. Like how do you say breakfast? And he'd say the same thing, and then they say lunch. He'd say the same thing. I'm like dinner, and he would say the same word for all those because
Yeah,
we didn't eat three times a
right.
day, so it was just the same thing. So I always thought like, well, maybe that's why a lot of us are we're pre-diabetic because we didn't eat every day. We ate winter we had we had good food in winter. We had vegetables in the spring,
Right.
and so we now today we get everything every day. We eat 3 4 times a day. So I feel like that's how can we have an issue with diabetes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
If you watch how I eat, like you'll see me walk around. I'm always snacking.
yeah,
I'm always eating something.
right.
And they call like a lot of people call that grazing. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I never really eat a big full meal
Mm-hmm.
like everybody else does. Like my plate's usually not that big. You'll see me out there with a bowl, and then I'll stop, and then I'll go back, and then I'll go eat again. But usually when you see me, I'm probably eating or snacking on something the whole
Yeah,
time I'm there.
right. Like
Right.
through
And that's
your dark
right.
chocolate and your almonds.
Right, right. And this is the biggest thing. That's what I learned from my diabetic nurse
Yeah,
is that the dark chocolate and that is good for diabetes as
yeah,
long as it's not sugar infused. And I'm a chocolate fiend. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I love chocolate. And to give up milk chocolate because high sugar, I had to give that up. But I had to, and I learned that chocolate, it does something to your brain, and
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of addicting for it, and you kind of want that. And I had to get that same thing from my brain. And so on my journey, I found that if I take like I got this 100% dark chocolate, the most bitter chocolate in the like
Yes,
you can get.
I
But
remember.
if I grabbed a little bit of it and it got rid of my craving.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. It actually got rid of it. I didn't crave it anymore. The chocolate.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's funny because dark chocolate, like let's say you get a bag of candy and you dump it all out on the table, and everybody grabs some. the only thing that's gonna be left on there is dark chocolate. So
because it's bitter.
so I guess it's healthy, so that's the one who grabs it, or it tastes bitter, like you said,
Right.
but it's
Right.
actually
So
good for
easy.
you.
It's
Yeah,
easier to grab the stuff that's not healthy.
yeah,
And that's 100% reflection on our society,
yeah,
right? Whether we're looking from the reservation to outside of the reservation, that's if you just go downtown Phoenix, right? If you go
right.
down to any downtown area, how many fast food places are there that you
Hmm.
can just drive up and get whatever? And that's nobody should be really eating that.
Yeah, I think we're all, like you said, you're from LA, and I'm from over here, but it's when we get together, it's we're all dealing with the same issue. We just don't know,
Same issue,
so it's just
right?
something that we need to talk about, and how we can eat better and drink better, and us, we love sodas down there, and and so we just got to learn how to keep it. We got all that soda down there, and
Right.
pickle slushies, and things like that.
Yeah, your uncle told me, "Hey, Robert, you need to come out, find a replacement for that. We'll make a fortune." I was like, I don't know if I can make a cylinder, right? Like
Yeah,
that'd be really hard. I think that'd be really hard. But I get it, trying to trick the brain.
yeah.
And funny thing is that until I until I until I met your uncle,
Hmm.
I never told my story.
Oh, okay.
I was very private.
Yeah.
Until I met your uncle. And I
Mm.
told me I was ashamed of being diabetes, to have
Yeah.
diabetes. I would never tell people,
Hmm.
especially I had to take injections. I was like trying to hide it, and
Yeah.
you know, sometimes I want to cry because I didn't want people to know.
Hmm.
And so I hear some of the elders people talk about, and your uncle talks about that too. Is nobody wants to talk about it,
Hmm.
right? Nobody's kind of a shameful thing that you got diabetes and you feel like people are looking down on you.
Yeah.
But now I'm pretty open about it. I'm
Hmm.
pretty open about my story right now, which is it's an interesting turn because I was never like I don't like people knowing about my personal life,
Hmm.
but telling telling the people about these things, I think it does well to tell my story,
Yeah.
and say, hey, these are the things that I had to go through. It's not like I miraculously had to turn and I'm some this really great person that did this whole bit. I don't see myself as that. I
Yeah.
just went on a journey,
Hmm.
and hopefully people can go on a similar journey
Yeah.
because it was a hard one. Like I had to choose. Like the way I really viewed it is either I'm going to live or I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I had to pick that one,
Hmm.
and I really wanted to. I remember laying there in bed in the hospital, and I'm like, I have to choose between my lifestyle that I have right now or being longer with my family.
Hmm.
And it came down to that. And then, like, you know what, I want to spend quality time with my family.
Yeah.
And that's how ended up going that way. And it's just this whole amalgam of all this, of all of my decisions, the things that are presented to me is how I got here.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, when I look at it, I'm like, wow, I went through this whole journey, and I don't think it's an amazing story at all. But then when everybody says, no, it is. To me, it's just something I had to do. Um, but I don't, even, even I see people not wanting to share their ailments because they're ashamed to say.
Right.
Um, but like, as long as, like, I guess the idea is to figure out how as a people, how can we, how can we help those people that don't want to do those things,
Yeah.
right? Like even in
Hmm.
ceremonies, like we should be thinking about like, hey, we got a lot of diabetic people. Should we really be giving these things
Yeah.
them, right? And
Right.
not to single them out and say, well, we're going to give them these, and then here's for the other people without diabetes, right?
Hmm.
How do we do that as a people? I don't even know. Like I don't even. At my house, we have like three different foods: one for the kids, one for me, one for my wife,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You're right. I mean, because like you've been to this ceremony, it's like if I go to a ceremony, I'm gonna buy 2 packs of sugar and
Right,
buy 2 cases of soda, and
right,
just so they can make things out of that, flour and oil,
right,
and things that they
right,
and beans. So
right.
like, yeah, I know that that's been going on for so long.
Yes.
I don't know. We need to change and somehow get there. Where especially like where you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking about bringing four things of
Yeah,
everything But the
Yeah.
healthy version, I'm thinking about putting it in the thing and see if anybody says something. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be ostracized. I'm thinking about it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I should just take these things. I should take 4 things of avocado oil or light tasting olive oil, 4 things of almond flour,
Yeah. Right.
4 things of like I could find like these other things like I could find like almond flour spaghetti. Stuff like that, right? I was like thinking about that. I was like, oh, but I think I'll get in trouble. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't
Yeah.
want to push the water too much, right? I don't
But
want
it
to.
always feels like I always thought like people think like if you're obese you're gonna be diabetic, like and so like people don't really take care of themselves if they're not obese. They eat whatever
Right,
skinny or whatever I want, and then end up being diabetic.
right.
It hits everybody, but
It's
I
everybody.
think that's why people think they don't say nothing because well they probably think I'm obese or anything like that, and I don't want to say anything, and so but it does happen to everybody, and so
Everybody.
mm,
Everybody. 1/3 of the population. Like I said, it's a high. I don't remember the statistics on the reservations, but it's higher than 1/3 of the population and on the reservations that is diabetic. Our people have been afflicted with this the most,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But we're not, as a people, we're not really. There's programs and stuff like that, but we're not reducing that at all,
mm-hmm.
right? So, but here,
Yeah, that's what when my cousin from California was saying. Like, back in the day, it was called sugar diabetes, and then
yes,
the government made him change that to just diabetes. But
right,
I remember back then it was called sugar diabetes,
right.
and so all these companies got together and went to the government and took the sugar out of that. So now it's just diabetes, So
Yeah, yeah. We can spend another hour talking about the politics of
yeah,
food because then you have a whole politics of food of you talk about the government and government subsidies,
mm,
um, what they what the USDA or the branch of the government that fund and subsidize crops.
right,
Um, a lot of it is corn,
mm,
wheat, rice, soy, and one other one that I don't eat.
yeah,
And so if you're going to push to not eat these products anymore,
yeah,
you're going against the government, and
right,
we know how that's going. Just with the fight at Oak Flat
mm,
and not granted, the government comes in and they kind of override you and try to overbear you with a bunch of information that's just not true.
right,
Because if you were to eliminate just wheat and corn, you eat corn, those flour products out of your diet, you wouldn't be the diabetes wouldn't be with our people.
yeah,
Just those 3 products. Um, but that's what do you do? Like that's the government subsidizing it for
yeah.
everybody,
How do you
even the
fix that?
farmers out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and everybody talks about
Yeah,
a conspiracy between the drug people and this and that. No, it's a money thing.
yeah,
You're never going to stop there. It's not a conspiracy at all. It's not this higher hierarchy. The drug people aren't going to cure you.
yeah,
Like, why would they? Like, that'd be crazy to think. Like, why would you do that? You talk about greed. As a human person, yes, you would. But as a greedy person, why would I cure you? I want to give you a pill, but I want you to continue taking my pill to
yeah,
sustain.
mm-hmm.
Like, never. Why would I cure you if I could make money off you your whole life?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That's a greed thing. It's not a conspiracy thing like a lot of people think. And like there's Illuminati or high CIA people,
Yeah,
or there's the big people in front. No, it's a money thing, 100% money thing.
mm-hmm.
And if people were to change their mind and say, no, we're going to stop these products altogether, then they like just imagine being subsidized for foods that can help with eliminating diabetes.
Right.
That's really what our government should be doing, but it's opposite. It's opposite.
Well, it's the
So
thing. We're always fighting them with, for food, and they're fighting for land and water. So it's just an ongoing battle every day, that we're dealing with here. So it doesn't,
right.
you just gotta,
Right.
get.
You had like you had a guest on there who was talking about food sovereignty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But food sovereignty, um, that doesn't do people good because you already have a colonized stomach,
Yeah.
right? So you can grow whatever you want, but if you make the decision to go outside and have the Pepsis and all the burgers, the burritos, the things that you're really not supposed to be eating,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. The food sovereignty won't matter at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Does
remember
that
you
make
saying
sense?
yes,
Because
it
you're going to
does.
go back and going to go eat whatever. Like I get that food sovereignty is important. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying it's not, but if you go back and just say, well, I'm gonna have these fruits and veggies because I'm not gonna rely on the government, but I'm gonna go when I go outside and I start doing these things, I'm gonna go back to eating what I'm not supposed to eat. Then this part doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As a diabetic, it don't matter. And I don't think people really understand that. I can't speak harsh enough about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really mean to demolish our school, but
Yeah.
it's well, you recently went through some stuff and
Yeah.
how diabetes affects, and all of this at some point we all have to realize that all this stuff can be avoided, but I don't. It's all these different programs that are people coming with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not addressing the diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. It's not,
Yeah.
other than just a pill. Take a
Yeah.
pill or injection.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not addressing it quick enough. Our people are dying, and you're just taking the pills to die later,
Yeah.
right? And die miserable later, right?
Yeah.
And that's I like I don't know how to speak of that enough where it's going to hit somebody where they say, you know what, Robert, let's start a different fight about this, because I look at, like, say the American Diabetes Association, all these different diabetes things. All they are for is getting more and more medication,
Right.
making medication available. I'm like, and they do have some recipe stuff, not how to
Mm-hmm.
eat. They do have some stuff on there because whatever they have,
Mm-hmm.
but not saying, hey, if you don't want to take medication, here's what you do.
Right.
They don't do this at all. They have different recipes, or doing these things are better,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that they go for is more towards having access to more medication,
Right.
which is very strange to see, and everybody buys it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know when you're type 1 diabetes, you have to have insulin, and you have to do those things.
Yeah.
But when you're type 2, and you do you really have to rely on these medications?
Right.
Like that's a question for everybody, especially for our people.
Mm-hmm.
We're affected more than everybody out there. With our diabetes, the diabetes and all these different things. What was the diabetes effect on COVID?
Right.
Right, and that has, like, they found out that was a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
And since all the people across all reservations, we lost a lot of our elders and stuff like that during COVID.
Yeah, because they had
And
diabetes and got the COVID. So
diabetes and COVID.
yeah.
I was scared because when they said that, I'm diabetic too.
Yeah.
And then, like, I didn't want to go around people because
Yeah.
I'm diabetic too. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like the plague or something like that. But it has to do with the health and the whole bit, because my diabetes is undetectable, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different from me.
Mm-hmm.
But just if you look at the percentage of people on the reservation that have diabetes and the percentage of people that die,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the same amount up there,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not quick enough to address this. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say that there's no programs, because I know there's programs out
Right.
there, but like you said, like even you say, like, you don't see this. You see this only like one meal out of the week, maybe,
Right.
because it's there, but the rest of them aren't going to be
Mm-hmm.
not going to be healthy meals. Like if you had every meal being a healthy meal, what do you think you would feel like
Yeah.
that whole week?
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because even like the non-natives will eat healthier than we do because they know, and
Right.
and we're just eating what we have, and so we just got to learn how to eat more healthier. And I know a lot of organizations out here, they do a lot of health and wellness, gut health, and that's something that's important, and so we're getting there. We just got to make the effort,
Right.
to get involved and help others for the future.
Right. And this is the whole thing. I'm not a geneticist, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I'm not a doctor in the whole bit, but I'm thinking that everybody says diabetes and these things are genetic,
Right.
right? And so, yeah, being Native American, you have a high percentage. Like, well, if that's the case, how did I cure myself,
Right.
right? And I have it, like, yeah, maybe some of us predisposed to this because we don't interact with those foods that they've been giving us,
Right.
right? Like kind of like alcohol, we're not supposed to. Like our genetics are like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe diabetes has just been part of our genetics. I think it's just part of our diet.
Right.
And if we went back to more natural foods, I know we can't go back to being nomadic,
Right.
being nomadic and doing that, but go back to more natural foods.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it'll curb our thing. But I go to the reservation too. Go to their San Carlos, going over there to the supermarkets that's there.
Yeah.
There's what are you going to get? Like
Right.
even me, I'm like I have to go to Phoenix to buy something to bring to the people, right? I can't get anything there.
Yeah.
So,
True.
just the food scarcity
Mm-hmm.
that is on a reservation. And it's like that across a lot of the reservations. Is you just have one store and they just feed what everybody wants, not what everybody needs,
Right.
right? And imagine if you had those things that they needed, um, how the choices would be easier. And even not even that, just imagine if like I found this astounding whenever I healed myself, like right, I healed myself through foods is when I all my medications, my pills, my insulin was all
Mm-hmm.
free. My medical paid for it,
Yeah.
but they're making like, but how come they don't pay for my food?
Right.
Right? Once I'm diagnosed as diabetic, how come they don't pay for the foods that help me
Mm-hmm.
with undetectable diabetes, but they would pay for my medication? It just seems very weird,
Yeah.
right?
And then the bad food is always less expensive than the good food, and so
Right?
like my a lot of people are on welfare.
Right,
They can't. They got to get the food that's at Bashas' or
right,
Safeway. It's not. They can't
right.
get the food that they should be getting, or go out and pick it, or what they can do. But most of
Right.
the
Just
time,
that's I don't understand it. I
hmm
don't I don't really understand it from us as a community, as a society, how we can allow for healthier foods to be more expensive, and we're just going to give everybody foods that are going to kill you over time.
yeah,
It's like giving you poison over time, and how we're not realizing that that's what's happening. Yeah, like welfare. You look at SNAP. You just go look at the WIC systems and
hmm
stuff like that, and you just go look at the supermarket and what has its label on there. It's everything that you're really not supposed to be eating as a diabetic.
right, right. But that's what I like about you, because I know there's a lot of people that I see with my uncle and with the Pet Stronghold. I'll see him at events or at court hearings and things like that. But I like I was telling you before, like if you want to know what goes on with land and water and the fight for it, you got to go to ceremony. And I really appreciate you seeing you there, not only at those things, but at ceremony, there for my father. So I really appreciate what you do there and what you do as a cook and trying to give us some food medicine that really helps.
As a cook.
Yeah,
I always have that label as the
yeah,
cook.
as a cook.
Like the cooks were going to give me a name. I can't remember what they were saying. I started laughing. I'm like, no, don't give me a name. Just call me
It's funny
Robert.
though, because like I'll say, hey, I go, hey Robert, what's up? And then you'd be like, hey, how you doing in town? Hey, I got some food over there. And I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, I know like that's what your first thing you usually say to me, and so I'm like, oh okay, So I was like, yeah, Robert the chef, he's over there. Go get some of his food.
Well, like I said, like you're with your uncle, like I'm always giving him food. Like you see me, like I'm always giving him a plate. I'm always bringing
Yeah.
him stuff and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes I see he's waiting or he's watching me and see if I'm gonna give him something.
Yeah.
One time he's like, "Hey, here, you got anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, here, let me go get it." Because sometimes
Yeah.
like like it really depends. Like say go to the lake and go into the ceremony afterwards. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I can't cook out there,
Yeah.
right? So I'm
Right.
like, oh, I have to make a sandwich. I have to make something really quick or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that I'll usually have something. I'm like, oh yeah, here is this a little bit.
What did you make quick one time? I can't remember what it was. It was pretty good. You couldn't get your kitchen out there. Damn, what was it?
Was it a sandwich?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh yeah, it was an almond flour bread,
Mm-hmm.
and the meat. Everybody thought it was like turkey. It was actually a thin sliced portobello mushroom, and
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
so that's what your cousin Vanessa. She's like, no, you remember you always because I never tell her. I said, hey, just eat it,
yeah.
right? All right, and she goes, and then she was eating it. And she goes, it's mushroom, huh? I'm like, yeah. She goes, I don't even like mushroom, and this is one of the best sandwiches I've had. And the
Yeah.
same thing. You tried my cauliflower rings, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So same thing. Like when I first brought it, I remember one dance I brought him out there, And people actually, I think Johnny was the one that said, he goes, these aren't meat. Like, no, they're cauliflower.
Yeah.
And he started eating it. Like, so he was kind of like what I said, it has to trick your brain.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't say what the food is, your brain thinks of it automatically.
Yeah.
And
So it's like I said about the diabetic tamales. If someone didn't say it was diabetic tamales, I would have had like three more. But again, it's mentally, it's just I don't know why it's like that, but it's good
I'm
food.
gonna I'm gonna call them the Banaka head tamales.
Yeah. Uh,
See if somebody like, what is that? Like, this is just from our people because I'm Banaka head, so
yeah.
it's
Good.
coming
Good
from the
idea.
heart.
Good idea. This is food medicines for ceremony. Here, eat it.
Yeah. I just got to learn to say how to say that in Apache, and then people will believe me.
Yeah. All right. Right.
You
When you
know,
gonna
go ahead.
when you gonna come back out here again?
I'll be out there next weekend.
Okay. Cool.
Who's that? Vernelda's
Oh yes, yes. That's
dance,
coming
right?
up.
So
Yeah.
I'll be
The
out
end of
there.
the
Yeah.
month. I
So I'm
think.
already trying to figure. I'm always trying to figure out what I'm trying to cook. So
So you guys start your menu right now,
I
huh?
just
Right
start my
now.
menu right now. So I'll have my whole thing.
I'll be
And
there.
it's never the same. So
Right.
I come with the general idea of what I'm doing. I actually do have a menu, but then I'll change it up depending on what's going on, depending if I'm going to go out, if I'm going to go out there during the dances, or I'm going to go out
Mm-hmm.
there sing, or depending on my participation, right?
Right.
Because then I have to run back
Right.
and then cook and then go to go to the dance and then have to run back and then have to kind of go back and forth. So it really depends on, okay, how much time do I have between
Mm-hmm.
this and between that? And sometimes you don't have any time. Okay, I'm
Right.
just gonna make tacos or something like that, or I'm gonna make something that's really quick. But I know I gotta bring the stir fry because
Yes.
everybody's
I was gonna say,
bring
make
the
sure you
stir
bring the
fry.
stir fry. What day is it gonna be on? Saturday or Sunday? I gotta.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, that's all I gotta figure. That's the thing I gotta figure out, like which day I'm gonna do because I gotta look at what time. Because you saw it. Like when my first dances, I went out there. I had that little like what do they call it? The easy bake oven.
Yeah.
It's like a
Get a
little
little thing.
stove,
Yeah.
right? So the cook started, hey, Robert, you're easy bake oven. I started laughing. And so, but when my wife went out there, she went out with me to Mount Graham to help support. And
Mm-hmm.
she got mad at me. She goes, what are you doing out there with this whole thing? Yeah, the Home Depot card, you should be buying this whole thing. So she made me go buy a whole, you saw my three burner thing down
Yeah.
the whole
No.
bit.
Yeah. I see that
And
now.
so my wife actually went and made me go do that. She made me like, what are you doing? You can serve more people this whole bit. Just and
Mm.
that's I really appreciate my wife for
Yeah.
being supportive on this journey. She's Blackfoot and Cherokee, so she's not
Okay.
Apache other than being married to me. So no,
Yeah.
you're a Chiricahua now too.
Yeah.
But for her to go and embrace that and say, hey, you know what, you need to go do this. She told me I had to
Mm-hmm.
go buy these things with my Home Depot card. But I was like, I thought I was doing okay. But I was like, no, she kind of got mad
Yeah.
at me.
Awesome.
So now I have more stuff to put on my truck. Now I'm like, now I got to get a Johnny truck. I got to get a big old truck like Johnny has in order for to haul all my stuff.
Yeah. It's funny because the way you pack, because like it doesn't look like you have a lot of stuff, and then the way I don't know, I guess the way you pack it is, damn, he's got the whole kitchen over there.
Like I have like three things of food, and then like
Yeah.
I still bring my oven, and then I bring my stove stuff, and everything's all packed pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to throw it out because sometimes it's too hot over there, and I
Yeah.
sleep outside, so I sleep in my truck.
Mm-hmm. No tent, huh? Just sleep right in the truck. Yeah.
Sometimes no, like last time I actually slept on, brought a fan and
Okay.
slept in the camp area. But sometimes like I can't I gotta I'm out there the whole time. I'm
Yeah.
usually not going to somebody's house to shower. I think your uncle told me to go shower one time.
Yeah.
One time I did, but a lot of times I'm just out there. So I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna cook. So
Yeah.
breakfast will be ready. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right.
Right.
So I'm out there constantly cooking, and then I'm like, oh, I need a shower. And
Mm-hmm.
so I actually bought a portable shower for me to bring
Yeah.
if I have to use it next time. But so last time, your uncle said, "Oh, come over and take a shower." So I
Yeah.
did that at night. Thank the creator. So he told me to go take a shower because being out there with all the dirt and the dust and the bugs
Yeah.
biting you, I was like, wow. Lasting for 4 days, right?
Right.
Like, oh my God, from Thursday to
Yeah.
Monday, I don't know how I was going to do that.
And especially cooking all those 4 days,
Right,
man. Dang.
right. And so I always
Hot.
forget to pack sometimes I'm always forgetting. My wife even says, "Hey, you gonna bring an easy up?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't think I need it." And then by the time I'm there, I'm like, "I have no easy up," because I'm out there in the sun and the whole bit.
Oh yeah, I've seen you out there. Some days it's hot, man. I think it was Johnny's dance that you were there. It was hot that day, and I remember being out there and holding the basket for my son because he was going to be a little late. Man, it was hot. And I was like,
Yeah.
then I see like you and the cooks out there cooking. I'm like, man, like it's hot.
You got the fire on you,
Yeah, it's
and
hot.
it's not only that. Is whenever they put the ash, when they're making the ash spray, the
Yeah,
fire's all around the cabin.
yeah. Ooh, man, and they got that tin out there. That tin makes it hot too.
Yeah,
So
all the tins around
yeah,
there, right? And like that's why I brought my fan. I think Lisa took it over. Because then the fan, the solar fan up there, and the
yeah.
next thing you know, I left, and they came back, and it was turned towards the cooks, and I didn't touch it. I was like, we'll let them have it.
Oh my god, that's funny.
No, but it's good times, and I think I really appreciate you, your family
Mm-hmm.
for really accepting me back to be amongst our people. I mean, it really
Yeah.
means a lot. All joking aside, it really means a lot to me, and
Mm-hmm.
it it's it's amazing that um, I didn't know I was I was going to be part of something
Right.
because I don't see myself as that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see myself. I see myself just as uh, just non-extraordinary or just a normal person that's
Yeah.
trying to get along in this world.
Mm-hmm.
But to see your family has actually embraced me a lot, and it's 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 very it means so much to me. I can't really explain it.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like you're like you're part of my family, like I'm part
Right.
of your family. That's what it really feels like. And
Mm-hmm.
and your uncle says that your family now. Like a lot of people say that, and even Johnny calls me uncle sometimes.
Yeah.
I start laughing, and but I feel that, and I don't like people ask me, hey, how do you go back to the reservation? How do you go back to meet your people, especially displaced Apache?
Yeah.
And I said, one, you have to go back with humility that you don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And and I did, and I said, you have to go back to if you were raised anyway. And this is what I was doing is I go back to how my great grandmother and my father raised us is be quiet, you
Right.
know, not ask any questions.
That
And
just
that's
listen.
really
Yeah.
hard. That's really hard to explain to people that aren't from
Yeah.
that culture, right? And is because they want to ask questions.
Right.
They want to. They think it's their right. They think it's this, and they think it's very innocuous, like very innocent questions. Sometimes, like, no, don't ask anything.
Right.
And that I don't even know how to explain that
Mm-hmm.
because your uncle said, "Hey, Robert, you're because he remember the first time he did, he goes, "Hey, Robert, you're coming the right way. This is the way people should be doing it."
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't listen. I'm just being me, right?
Yeah.
I'm just being me and how I was taught when I was younger. And I don't know how to explain this to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always, other than just be very humble
Yeah.
and everything's learning because I'm learning. But when I'm around our people, I'm trying to absorb everything, right?
Right.
From how your mannerisms are, from ceremony to where you're
Mm-hmm.
walking to all these different things. But I'm not asking.
Right.
Um, I don't know how to tell people, don't ask. He'll come to you when you're ready,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody's going to see it, or somebody, or your son's going to see it, or somebody's going to see it, and they're going to give it to you. And the one thing I do say is like, hey, if you ask, if you don't do it, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
people don't believe me. They're like, what? This, that. Like, this is kind of not
Right.
mainstream America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know. Like, how do you explain it to people outside of the reservation from your side? I don't even know. I lose track. I can't explain it to them because they kind of think it's wrong that they should be able to ask whatever questions they want.
Yeah. I've had some people ask me like, "Oh, why you do this? Why you do that?" And I would just be like, you just have to figure it out. Why we're doing that. If you're going to be involved, you got to get that spirituality and figure out why
Right.
we're doing this and why we're doing that. You can't, like for me, um, my father, my mom, they never really explained. They just did it, and like
Right.
they led by example.
Right.
So with my mom what she does and what my dad did, and so when I have my kids, I never really explain to them. I just like, if 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 I'm gonna sweat, he'll sweat. You know, if I dance, he's gonna dance. If I sing, he's gonna sing. You know, and so
Right.
just having the leadership, like for you, you know, my uncle. I'm sure you follow and what he does. He's a good one to watch, you know, and understand and learn from him, you know, because that's the same thing that we do, you know, and so from all our elders, just listening. But yeah, because I don't want to ask, you know, because if I ask, that means I haven't been paying attention, you know,
Right.
and that's the thing I always know that if I ask them, the elders or my great uncle is going to be like, oh, he wasn't listening or he wasn't paying attention, you know, and so
Right.
again, like you're right, you just got to keep listening and you know pay attention and that's one thing that you'll get respect from the people there.
That's the biggest thing because
Yeah,
like I don't know how to explain it to people outside of
yeah,
the reservation. I did it, like believe me, because I was raised with this,
yeah,
but I really don't know the people that have like a little bit of the more colonized, educated mind,
yeah, right,
because you know the education system teaches you to ask questions, right?
right.
Ask questions for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and question everything so you know the truth and you know that want and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I look at when I see somebody from the outside of the reservation asking questions, I like cringe. I'm like, why are you guys asking questions? It's just be, sit in silence, right?
Yeah,
Sit in silence and absorb and spirit and bring like and it, and I don't think this is outside and the spirituality thing is I'm glad you brought that up because I think even my foods, my
mm-hmm.
spirituality is tied in there.
Yeah, right.
And everything is tied in there, and it's not something separate. And I think outside of the reservation life, outside of our people, outside of Native people, when you start having the colonized mind, is you think that there's a separation between your spirituality and what you do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can choose when your spirituality enters,
Right.
and I don't know, and that's the problem is that there's a separation. Like, oh, I can only I can be have spirituality only in ceremony, but I'm not gonna everywhere else. I'm not gonna have it,
Yeah.
which is that's not how we're supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but it's kind of separate outside of the reservations. Is how do you explain that to somebody that doesn't accept that, right?
Right.
Even our own displaced Apache
Mm-hmm.
brothers and sisters, they won't understand this.
Right.
They're
Well,
going to come in and ask a bunch of questions.
we're just different. I mean, like my son, you know, he works out here in the city, and you know he goes to the ceremonies on the weekend, and his friends they go, you know, Disneyland or do something like that, and they ask him, you know, like what'd you do, you know, and he don't know how to explain it. I'm like, you know, I'm in a whole different world than you guys are, you know, like
Right,
so I always told him like, you know, we walk in two worlds, and um, as he got older, he realized what I was saying to him, you know, about
right,
walking in two worlds. You know, and I said you
right.
got to have that spirituality is every day for us, you know,
Yes,
and for non-natives it's every Sunday, you know, and
yeah,
so you gotta have that, you know, understanding of, you know, the land and water, and so that's something that we always have. And so he started to understand things like that, and you know that's how he really got into his ceremony. And my daughter, you know, she's awesome at her ceremony and all things that she does. So just being part of that and learning, it's hard to teach the outside about that, you know.
see, that's how I feel about my food too.
Yeah,
Is because it's hard to teach outside of
yeah,
myself the food portion because to me the my food is a very spiritual side
mm-hmm,
of what
right,
healed me, right? So like it's not just my the food that healed me, but I you know like they go back to that voice I heard. It was there for a reason. I heard it for a reason,
right,
and it brought me this far. And the foods I learned and the foods I did and used and everything were a result of these things, which is all part of that spiritual connection.
mm-hmm,
That actually I always talk about. I said this. I think I said this at the last time I was at Oak Flat. I said Oak Flat brought me there.
right,
It wasn't me. I was called there, and you know, it's weird because I didn't speak like this.
right.
And
Yes,
I was like, I started hearing myself, why are you saying kind of kook or something? Like, you know, I'm not 100% like I was a very, how do you say, matter of factly, like denying or trying to see, okay, is this my brain playing tricks on me? Is these different things? But just the things that happen at Oak Flat
mm-hmm,
and being called there and this whole journey I've been on ever
mm-hmm,
since I heard that voice is very surreal. and
Right.
I don't. It's been a very spiritual journey for me,
Mm-hmm.
um, which started like 7 years ago,
Right.
and it's only been getting better and better, and I feel myself actually be drawn away from corporate America.
Right.
So I have like a dilemma at times. Like,
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm selling technology and I'm fighting technology on
Yeah.
Apache side,
Right.
right? So I'm like, I feel it. Believe me, I feel it big time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I think it's coming to a head end really quick.
Yeah.
I could feel it. So,
I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
but that spirituality, like, how do you even explain that?
Mm-hmm.
Even if I was to tell people like, yeah, I put my spirituality in my Apache spirituality, and it's an everyday thing. I don't just say I'm going to do it with my food. I'm not, and it's like I've recognized that it's part of my being, my whole thing, the way I think, the way I interact with people,
Yeah.
and even why I can't do something or why something presents to me, and this whole interconnection between everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know how to explain that other than sounding like a weird cultish kind of person.
Yeah. To them, to the outside, yeah, but to us, I'm like, yeah, speak,
Yeah, to you,
because
like I can talk about it. I can
yeah.
talk about it. Like I heard, I heard the story. Like I was called by, if I could say this is, I was called like your uncle told me. Like I was called because of prayers over there
Mm-hmm.
at Oak Flat,
Right.
and to realize that like prayers were done for healing and stuff like that, and I came later. I came like a month later or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is just to understand that and then go there and then feel the same things of like, wow, these were our people. And I've actually went there and experienced a lot of things that look like that. I'm just not going to talk about them, but
Right.
it's even by myself, without even before I even met your family.
Mm-hmm.
Is I didn't have any idea. I had no idea,
Right.
and it's definitely. I would say this for all Apache people is you have to go there once.
Right.
You have to
Right.
go there with an open heart, an open mind. Lose your your colonized self and
Mm-hmm.
go to Oak Flat at least once. Um, it'll change you.
Yeah.
It'll change you.
And that's what.
And not just for my foods, but just to go there.
And
Like if
that's
you
what I
go there
was.
during the Oak Flat ceremony, you're gonna eat my food. You just watch
Yes.
find me in the truck and all
Yes.
the people around me. Usually I'm over there. Last time I was over there with your uncle in his area, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, if you see, I'm usually in the cook area. So if you go to Oak Flat, just go there. And
Just.
I really wish I could bring. I keep wanting to bring more Apache, but I think especially more people that are Chiricahua or even just regular, Apache from really displaced. But I
Yes.
think they're scared. Like there's some they're scared or something. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
scared is the right word, but or because a lot of people will claim Apache here in LA, but they don't go to any ceremony,
Yeah.
right? And I find that very well. I'm the same way. I always called myself Apache too, but I didn't go to ceremony either. But it feels like it's closed from the outsider, right?
Right.
And I think even when it was opened up to the public, um, people like your uncle opened up the first one I went to, he would call was for the flat supporters to go. And I didn't know what to expect, but I went in there with the humbleness.
Right.
And I don't think the outside world knows how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And it's almost similar. I find it similar to food. Like the outside world doesn't know how to do with the foods. How do you change these things,
Mm-hmm.
these views of food? And to me, it's very similar. Like, how do you get the outside world to really respect the land? If they respect the land and the water, they're going to respect the food because that's where the food comes from.
Right.
Because people just think the food comes from the supermarket, right?
Right.
But
Yes.
like,
Definitely.
if you have all these lands and the land is no longer producing these, and you're just genetically making foods that could grow anywhere, it's
Mm-hmm.
no longer pulling from the ground. And like even when I went to Mount Graham and I pulled onions. The taste of the onions there are taste like the earth.
Right.
You could taste it, and you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to get that when you buy it. Like I could go buy onions at the store. I'm not going to get that same taste.
Right.
And how do you get people? I made a stir fry out of those things, and that stir fry, I can't replicate
Mm-hmm.
because the onions on that I can't. That taste of the onion is not in that stir fry. If I
Okay.
make a new one,
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get people to appreciate that,
Right.
right? Because you can't mass produce that either, because that onion is pulling from all the other plants that are around there. The interconnection between all the plants, the water that came there, the water from
Mm-hmm.
the clouds and everything. But you can't mass produce that,
Yeah, because that's why it tastes like that. It's from all that. So, yeah,
right?
right.
Right.
I see what you mean.
So, like, how do you get people that are not connected to the land to really appreciate that? Like our displaced Native American brothers and sisters, like, do they really embrace the land? Like
Mm-hmm.
do they really experience that? And
Right.
I hear a lot of the elders talk about this sometimes. And, I'm sitting there listening a lot, and they talk about a lot of the displaced, even on the reservation. Like the reservation wasn't really all Apache land, right? Different Apache.
Yeah.
And so, like being Chiricahua, like, oh, that's not really, we were like more this way and always in the mountains.
Yeah.
And like, so you think about that and like, well, what happens if we were to go back? Like, what happens if our people, being Chiricahua, were able to go back to where we were supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
and partake of the foods that were there,
Right.
those areas? Just imagine the healing that would take place just for our own people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's there has to be a step towards that, and hopefully my food is that step towards that.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. It is.
yeah,
Your food is very it's very good medicine and feels good when you eat it, and we just gotta get back to that, and you being there, it does help a lot.
maybe I just need to partner with a bunch of people and start a whole food chain restaurant, Brent.
Yes. All right.
We'll call it Matant Burgers or something like that. Make it the whole thing. How's that? I just because I know like everybody's saying I should open up restaurants and do
Yeah.
this whole bit. I just my
A lot
actual
of work.
passion is that. I don't mind the work. I'm like, you see it like what I do.
Yeah.
I don't mind doing that, but I just don't. For like truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
is if I go towards that, and I said this to my wife the other day. I said I feel if I make it commercial, if I try to make my foods profitable, I'm taking that spirituality away,
Right.
and that's why I don't want it. Like
That.
I'd rather be the advisor and say, no, don't do that. Right. I'd rather be the person saying, here, this is how you're going to make it. And if you strive for this, that's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'll tell you it's not, but I don't want to be the person to make that decision. Oh, either I'm going to shut down the business because I can't be profitable,
Yeah.
or I'm going to change my recipe to be profitable. I don't want that, because
Um.
my foods are, if you look at it, they're pretty like, it's like if I was to sell my tamale, the time and what I put in there is probably like a $5 tamale.
Right.
Unless I can buy in bulk. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
really a $5 tamale? I'm like, yeah, truthfully, it'd probably be about a $5 tamale.
Yeah.
Just for everything that I put into it, time and everything else. Half of that is probably the ingredients just by itself. But you can go buy tamales, just regular tamales for like 50 cents a pop or whatever,
Yeah.
dollar.
Right.
And like you could have 5 people, you can buy 5 tamales before you buy one of mine. Which one are people gonna buy?
Hmm.
Right. So that's why I know that's the real reason why I don't want to open up a
Yeah.
restaurant is
That's a good reason. Yep. I
I really
understand.
don't want that commercial colonized
Yeah.
input into, oh, just add this and you can sell more. Like
Yeah.
I don't want it to be corrupted in that
I can make a
in
bulk
that
size or something like that. Yeah. I
right,
see.
right, like add salt, like so funny thing is, like, who was I talking to Lynn or Ponce? I can't remember one of them at the last thing I went to. I think it was the lake, and it was my stew. Got the salt. I'm like, you didn't even taste my food. You put salt in there. They start laughing
Yeah.
because they know I don't cook with salt. Like
Yeah.
automatically you put salt. Like you don't even taste it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that like putting salt into things as a preservative, and I just can't. I
Yeah.
can't knowingly do
Mm-hmm.
that when I'm going to give it to somebody that I care about, especially your family. Like I
Yeah.
really love them and I care about them so much. I can't see myself giving them something that I know is bad for them.
Right.
I can't do it. There's no way. If I ever did that, kick me out. Say, get out of here, Art. You don't welcome here anymore.
I do
Right?
remember when you gave my son Wea, you gave him, I think it was beef stew or whatever, what you made there, and he took a bite and he was like, "Oh, it's good," and then you're like, What, you thought it was gonna be bad?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh no!" Like I just, but that was he was just that's what he just says. It's funny. I'm like, wait, I told her, come on now. So he started laughing.
I just thought I'm joking, dude. I'm never
Yeah,
serious. I
yeah,
hope
I
everybody knows
know.
that. I'm joking a lot, and I just like I think it's funny because I think that that expression
Yeah,
that everybody has, like, hey, this is pretty good.
yeah,
This is like because I know what it's like. Like I know that people are expecting the food to really taste
yeah,
healthy, and
yeah,
when you talk about healthy food, it doesn't taste very well,
yeah,
right? And I just that's why I always want to I want to just put my food out there.
yeah.
Like I want to just put it out. I want to try to put it out there and then have my food blessed and then people just grab it because I think we're trying to work towards that
Mm,
and then just have people grab it off the table because normally you have to come to another side, right?
yeah.
So, but if I go put it on the table, have to time it just right so it goes out at the same time and then hey bless the food during this and then just put it out there for people
Yeah.
to do without knowing that they're eating healthy food.
Yeah.
Right. And because
Yeah.
I've done that out here in this side. I put like I
Mm,
made my carnitas, I made my tamales, and I just put them out there.
mm,
And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, those are vegan or those are that. Like, what? Like everybody didn't know. Like they were shocked.
yeah.
And because they had multiples. Because normally
Mm,
with like vegan food, like you come to LA or I don't know if they have vegan tacos over there. I don't like their vegan tacos there. I think
mm,
mine are better. I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't taste like a taco.
yeah.
It tastes like a vegan taco.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
It's all about taste. Yep.
all about taste. It's all
Mm,
about tricking that brain of ours
yes.
to really think that it's good. Like you're so way. I think like I met Waya one time. When I first went to the first run.
Yeah.
Actually, him and I were lost. Um, going to Old San Carlos, and we had
Yeah.
to wait for Vanessa. So I think it was him and I think your daughter too. I think there was them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Was it there? Yeah, I think because I
Yeah.
remember
She
Waya.
was with them.
We got lost going out there. It was San Carlos, and we're like, hey, but that's had to come get us because I think we made a right when we should have made a left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I think that's when I want to say that's really when he first tried my foods because I on that run, I think I made tamales. I also made pozole. I made a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you tried the pozole or did you try the manila?
I think I tried the pasoli.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
did you think about it? Was it okay?
It was. I mean, it tastes like pasoli. It tastes good. It didn't taste like it was.
Yeah.
Healthy pasoli. It was regular.
Yeah,
So
just without you're missing the hominy because I don't
yeah.
put hominy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a bits and pieces of the seed of the jackfruit that I put in there
Mm-hmm.
that people think it's hominy, and
Oh
it's
yes.
not.
Yes.
I start laughing like, no, I don't eat corn, so no hominy.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like it is trying to trick the
Mm-hmm.
brain into doing right. But none of these foods exist outside of me making them,
Yeah. Right.
right? So and actually, the sole is pretty cheap to make. It's almost the
Mm.
same recipe.
Oh, okay.
So other than the jackfruit is the only thing, and I'm doing it without the uh, without the meat, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I make the sauce from scratch. Everything's from scratch.
Wow.
From
That's
making the
good.
chilies, I'm doing the chilies and doing that whole bit. My tamales, everything is from scratch. Even the sauce is all from scratch. I'm taking the dried chilies and
Yeah.
roasting them a bit and then rehydrating them, and then but I'm not going to do like my she said my great grandmother. I'm not going to do like her where she used the chilies and did it in the
Oh
grinder.
yes.
I would use my blender.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit there and do it. I'll put 10 hours on my
Yeah.
by the time I'm done. But
That'll
like
take you a
the
while.
old
Yeah.
ladies just to grind that stuff, right?
Yep.
Like
Jeez.
I can't do that. I put it in my blender. But I don't know. I'm always asking like if I could bring you something and what would you want me to bring
Yeah.
that I don't normally bring? Like, what is a food
No.
that you would say, hey,
I think you would just
I
have to
want
just bring it. I mean, because like I would never try to stir fry, at the time,
it?
or the beef stew you had, or the tamales. I never
Right.
would have tried it, and you just brought it. So I think anything that you make, I know it's going to be good. It's just like what's my favorite, what's going to be my favorite. So
You tried my chorizo?
no, I haven't tried that.
Oh, yeah, you got to try it. You're gonna have to come during the breakfast time
Yeah, I'll come breakfast time.
because I make it's homemade chorizo.
Okay.
It's all natural, so no soy, no nothing like that. So everybody's like, How are you making that? Like, hey, I can't eat soy. I can't eat meat. So I gotta figure it's not mushroom meat either.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, and you see your uncle, he likes the stir fry. So I
Yeah.
happen to be the stir fry, right?
Yeah.
But have you tried one of my burgers?
No. You know what? Burgers is my favorite. So if we see you in a couple of weeks, let's bring some
I'll bring
burgers.
a burger.
Yeah.
Like I told Johnny because I told Johnny, hey, you want a messy burger? He didn't know what that meant by that,
Yeah.
and he goes, yeah, give me a messy one. I put an egg on it. He bit into it, and the egg was like, oh my god. Like, oh, I didn't know what you meant by a messy burger.
They gave him
And
all the
then I usually
easy
make the
burger.
fries too. Yeah, and then I make a fry like the purple sweet potato fry.
Yeah.
And so like your uncle really, when the first time I made it for him, like, here's a burger and here's some fries, and he was like, I could eat this. I'm like, yeah, you could eat this. This is a
Yeah.
diabetic friendly burger and fries, and even my ketchup. He goes, I could have ketchup. I'm like, yeah, here.
Yeah.
I usually bring him a goodie box, like, here, because I know you can't get this stuff on the rice.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm like, hey, here's some stuff for you.
All right, Rob. Well, you know what? I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks, and then let's get another episode going next time again because this was fun. I like, especially I like talking about food, and I like talking about spirituality.
Well, I really enjoy it. I really look forward to it. I think everything came to, me getting my teeth pulled. Like when you called me,
Yeah.
I really think that had meaning. I don't think I was ready to do a podcast at
Right.
that point. I think there was like a stuff going on in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the timing is just right because next week I'm going to be guys. I really think that it goes back to that spirituality
Yeah.
connection and one that I not just have with Apache people, but with your family.
Right.
And I do miss when I'm not around them. Believe me,
Right.
you guys are always in my thoughts and my prayers.
Thank you.
And when I wake up, I just I feel like you're my lost family that I found,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to give everything that I have to help
Right.
as much as you guys want it, even when you guys don't want
Well,
it.
thanks, Robert. We really enjoy you over there, man. We really take you in as family too. So yeah, thank you very much for all the food you bring.
Thank you. I hear, I hear, I
All
hear,
right,
I
man.
hear.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
All right, Robert. Good talking to you.
You too.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Robert, and I want to thank everybody for listening. He's one of my good friends that my uncle Wenzel had taken, and once Wenzel took him in, and we all, he became family. So I want to thank him very much for all the food he brings, all the medicine that he brings, and he brings a lot to our family. So, all right, well, we'll see you guys again, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Fight for Existence podcast. If you guys want to keep up with the podcast in general, what you could do is follow the social media account. The Instagram account is going to be Fight for Our Existence. Again, that's Fight number 4 Our Existence. Go ahead and give that a follow. And if you guys have any questions for us or you guys would like to be on the podcast, in the Instagram, there's a link. Go ahead and click that. No matter what kind of platform you guys listen to this podcast on, there's always that plus or that follow button. So go ahead and click that so you guys can get notifications when we upload our next episode. And if you guys are listening on Spotify, what you can do is go ahead and rate the show. And if you guys are only listening on Apple Podcasts, what you can also do is write a review for the show. Thank you all for tuning in to the Fight for Existence podcast, and we will talk to you next time.